The power went out at 8:17 on a Thursday night. Noah Bennett knew the exact time because the little clock above his stove froze there, its green numbers disappearing in the same instant the refrigerator stopped humming. For half a second, his apartment became so quiet that he could hear rain ticking against the kitchen window. Then someone shouted in the hallway. Noah put down the screwdriver in his hand. He had been sitting at the kitchen table with an old mandolin resting on a folded towel in front of him, working beneath the yellow light over the stove because the lamp in the living room had burned out 3 days ago and he kept forgetting to buy a bulb. Another voice came from outside. "Mrs. Alvarez?" Noah was already moving. He pulled open his apartment door. The hallway was black, except for the emergency lights glowing weakly near the stairwell. Mrs. Alvarez lived 2 floors above him. She was 78, stubborn, sharp-tongued, and had spent most of the previous winter insisting she did not need help carrying groceries even after slipping on the front steps. She also used an oxygen concentrator at night. Noah took the stairs 2 at a time. By the time he reached the 3rd floor, Mrs. Alvarez's door was open, and her neighbor, Sam, was standing beside her with the rechargeable battery pack. "I'm fine," Mrs. Alvarez said. "You say that every time something is objectively not fine," Noah told her. "That is because you worry too much. That is rich coming from you." He crouched to check the battery indicator. It would last for a while, but the building's emergency generator only covered the lobby and management office. They needed to get her downstairs. Sam took the portable oxygen unit. Noah was lifting the battery pack when footsteps came quickly from the other end of the corridor. A tall man appeared out of the dark, wearing a charcoal raincoat over a white shirt, the collar open and one sleeve damp from rain. He had a flashlight in one hand and a rolled set of papers tucked beneath his arm. Noah recognized him vaguely. One of the people who had been walking around the building all week, measuring walls and putting blue tape beside pipes. "You," Noah said. The man stopped. "Yes? You're with management." "Not exactly. The power has been flickering for 2 weeks." "I know. And someone decided it was a great idea to start tearing into the electrical system before fixing whatever was already wrong." The man looked at Mrs. Alvarez. "Does she need to get downstairs?" Mrs. Alvarez lifted her chin. "She has a name." The man nodded once. "Mrs. Alvarez, do you need help getting downstairs?" "No." "Yes," Noah said at the same time. She glared at him. The man tucked the flashlight into his coat pocket and handed the rolled papers to Sam. "I'll take the battery." Noah did not let go. "I've got it." "I can see that." "Then why are you reaching for it?" "Because the stairwell is dark and you need one hand free." Noah stared at him. The man stared back. Not annoyed. Not challenging. Simply waiting. Mrs. Alvarez sighed loudly. "If you boys plan to have a dominance contest, do it after I have electricity." Noah released the battery. The stranger lifted it easily. They moved downstairs carefully. Noah walked beside Mrs. Alvarez, one hand near her elbow without touching unless she needed him. The stranger stayed behind them, carrying the battery pack, steady and silent. In the lobby, the emergency lights were brighter. The building manager was arguing into a phone near the front desk. Several residents had gathered in pajamas and coats. The stranger set the battery beside one of the outlets connected to the backup power and checked the connection himself. Only after Mrs. Alvarez was settled did he straighten. Noah crossed his arms. So what? How long is this going to take?" "The electrician is on the way." "You don't know." "No." At least he did not pretend. Noah rubbed the back of his neck. Mrs. Alvarez was already telling Sam that everyone was making too much fuss. The stranger retrieved the rolled plans. "You live here?" Unfortunately, a corner of the man's mouth moved. It was not quite a smile. I'll make sure management gives everyone an update. Are you management or not? No. Then who are you? The man glanced toward the dark stairwell. Ethan Caldwell. That meant nothing to Noah. Okay. Architect. That meant slightly more. Noah looked at the plans. The renovation? Yes. You're the one doing this? I'm one of the people. Then I have several complaints. I suspected you might. Noah almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he pointed upstairs. 3rd floor. The temporary route you've marked for the plumbing work sends Mrs. Alvarez through the back stairwell. She can't do that 3 times a day. Ethan's expression changed. Not defensively. He simply listened. The elevator is being shut down for 2 days, Noah continued. If you need access to her hallway, find another route. I'll look at it. That usually means no. It means I'll look at it. Noah studied his face. There were people who used calmness as a way to dismiss you. He had known plenty. Ethan did not look dismissive. He looked tired. And wet. And very expensive compared with everyone else standing in that lobby. Noah looked away first. Fine. The electrician arrived 20 minutes later. The power returned shortly after 10. When Noah finally got back upstairs, the mandolin was still waiting on the table. The clock above the stove had reset itself to midnight. Noah washed his hands, sat down, and picked up his screwdriver. For no particular reason, he found himself thinking about the architect's hands. Clean nails. A little ink near one thumb. And the way he had carried Mrs. Alvarez's battery pack without once treating her as if she were fragile. Noah frowned at the mandolin. Then he went back to work. 3 mornings later, Noah walked into the lobby with coffee in one hand and found Ethan standing beside a folding table covered in floor plans. The residents' meeting had not started yet. Noah considered walking back upstairs. Then Ethan looked up. Recognition appeared immediately. You survived the blackout. Barely. Ethan's gaze dropped to the paper cup in Noah's hand. I assume you have several additional complaints. I made a list. I was joking. I wasn't. This time Ethan did smile. It transformed his face more than Noah expected. He looked younger. Not young. Just less like someone who had been born wearing a pressed shirt. Noah looked away before the thought became too specific. Residents slowly filled the lobby. The meeting began. The building was more than 60 years old. Plumbing needed replacing. Electrical systems needed updating. Several apartments had moisture damage. The back stairwell required structural work. Ethan explained all of it without using too much architectural language. Noah appreciated that. He still interrupted 3 times. The 3rd interruption concerned Mrs. Alvarez. The proposed pedestrian route during the plumbing shutdown is too long. One of the contractors frowned. It's temporary. So is a broken hip. Noah, the building manager, said. What? Ethan looked down at the plan. Which apartment? 312. Ethan marked something with a pencil. We can shift the barrier. The contractor turned toward him. That'll interfere with materials delivery. For 2 days. It'll slow the crew. Then the crew will be slower. The room went quiet. Ethan wrote another note. Noah leaned back in his chair. He had expected an argument. He almost felt disappointed. After the meeting, residents surrounded Ethan with questions. Noah slipped away. He had to open the music shop by 10. 2 weeks later, he came home carrying groceries and found half the ground floor corridor blocked with temporary plastic barriers. A construction worker waved him toward the opposite side. Noah stopped. The route had changed. Instead of forcing 3rd-floor residents through the rear stairwell, The work zone had been rearranged so that the elevator could remain accessible. Noah looked at the blue tape running along the floor. Who changed this? The worker shrugged. Architect. Noah glanced through the plastic barrier. Ethan stood farther down the corridor, talking with an electrician. He had one hand in his pocket and a pencil tucked behind his ear. Noah could have walked over. He did not. That evening he was making pasta when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Ethan Caldwell. The third-floor route should be manageable now. If there are issues, let me know. Noah stared at the message. He had apparently given the building manager permission to share his number. He typed, "Looks good, Mrs. Alvarez will still complain." A reply came less than a minute later. "I've gathered that." Noah smiled. Then another message appeared. "She gave me a list today." Noah typed, "Welcome to the building." He set his phone down. 5 minutes later, he picked it back up and added Ethan's number to his contacts. The messages remained practical for almost a month. Water shut down tomorrow from 9 to. Mr. Lee in 217 works nights. Can you start his section afternoon? Yes. Thanks. Elevator inspection Wednesday. Mrs. Alvarez has a doctor appointment at 11. We can keep it open until 11:30. There was nothing unusual about any of it. Noah told himself that whenever he caught himself checking his phone after hearing the vibration. One Tuesday morning, he walked into the lobby and found Ethan leaning over a blueprint with 2 engineers. Noah was carrying 2 coffees. That was not unusual either. He frequently bought coffee for people. One was his. The other had been intended for Marcy, who worked at the flower shop next to the music store. Marcy had texted 10 minutes earlier saying she would be late. Noah stopped beside Ethan. Here. Ethan looked at the cup. What's this? Coffee. I can see that. Then we're making progress. Ethan took it. Why are you giving me coffee? Because I have 2, and you look like someone who has been awake since 4. 5. Close enough. Ethan removed the lid. Black. Noah shrugged. That's what you drink. How do you know? You've been carrying the same order around for a month. Ethan looked at him for a second longer than necessary. Noah felt suddenly aware that he had admitted to observing him. He turned toward the elevator. Don't make it weird. I wasn't. You were thinking about it. I was thinking that you notice a lot. That's how I make a living. You repair instruments. And instruments are just people who can't lie about what's broken. The elevator arrived. Noah stepped inside. Ethan remained in the lobby. Just before the doors closed, he lifted the coffee slightly. Thank you, Noah. Noah went upstairs with an odd warmth moving through his chest. It annoyed him enough that he forgot to buy milk. Ethan came into the shop on a rainy Saturday afternoon carrying a guitar case. Noah was behind the counter restringing a student violin. The bell over the door rang. Give me 30 seconds, Noah called without looking up. No rush. He recognized the voice. His hand paused. When he looked up, Ethan was standing near a display of second-hand guitars, rain shining on the shoulders of his coat. You followed me to work. I was told stalking was more subtle. That depends how good you are at it. Ethan placed the case on the counter. I need an opinion. Noah wiped his hands on a cloth. Medical, legal, or romantic? Musical. Those are cheaper. He opened the case. Inside was an old acoustic guitar. The finish was scratched. 2 strings were missing. The bridge had begun lifting from the body, and 1 tuning peg was bent. Noah lifted it carefully. This has been stored somewhere dry. My father's attic. For how long? Possibly 20 years. Noah ran his thumb lightly over the wood. You were going to throw it away. Ethan looked at him. How did you know? People only bring things in looking this guilty when they've already considered the trash. I didn't know if it was worth repairing. Noah inspected the neck. Worth in what sense? Financially. No. Ethan blinked. Noah smiled. You asked. So it isn't worth fixing. I didn't say that. You just said. You asked whether the repair would make financial sense. Noah rotated the guitar gently. It won't. You'll spend more than the instrument is worth on paper. Ethan leaned one hip against the counter. And in the other sense. Noah glanced at him. Did your father play it? Yes. Did you like hearing him? A pause. Sometimes. Then that's the other sense. Ethan looked at the guitar. My father died 6 years ago. I'm sorry. He and I weren't especially close. Noah nodded. He did not say anything comforting. People often became embarrassed when grief was complicated. They preferred a clean story. Loved father. Lost father. Missed father. Real life was rarely that cooperative. Noah examined the bridge again. It isn't ruined. Just neglected. Noah looked up. That sounds better than I would have put it. Is there a difference? Usually. Ethan watched him. Noah suddenly became aware of the shop around them. Warm wood. Dust. Old posters. The faint metallic smell of guitar strings. A radio playing quietly from the repair room. This was his space. He knew where every tool was without looking. He knew which floorboard creaked behind the counter. He knew the old radiator needed to be kicked twice before it worked properly. Ethan seemed different here too. Less official. He had taken off his coat. His shirt sleeves were rolled to his forearms. Noah found himself noticing the veins along his hands. He looked back at the guitar. I can save it. Ethan smiled slightly. Then save it. Ethan returned twice during the following week. Both times Noah told him the guitar was nowhere near finished. The second time Ethan said, I was nearby. Noah looked through the front window. Your office is downtown. Yes. This is southeast. I had a meeting. Where? Ethan hesitated. Noah laughed. You're terrible at lying. I wasn't aware I needed an alibi to visit a store. You don't. Good. That should have ended the conversation. Instead, Ethan stayed. Noah worked while Ethan wandered through the store. He stopped near a wall of used records. You sell these too? Technically, Howard sells them. I just dust around them. Howard. The owner. As if summoned, Howard appeared from the repair room carrying a box of reeds. He was 62, thin as a metronome, and suspicious of anyone wearing a tie. You the architect? He asked. Ethan looked surprised. Noah groaned. Howard. What? How do you know? Howard pointed at Noah. He talks about you. Noah nearly dropped the violin bridge in his hand. I talk about the renovation. Same thing. Ethan's eyes moved toward Noah. Noah stared at Howard. I am going to choose your nursing home personally. Howard walked away laughing. Ethan said nothing. That was worse. Noah bent over his work. Don't. I didn't say anything. You're thinking. I do that frequently. Noah looked up. Ethan was smiling. Noah hated that he liked the expression. He liked even less that he had begun recognizing different versions of Ethan's smile. There was the polite one. The dry one. The one he used when he was trying not to laugh. and the quieter one, which seemed to arrive before Ethan himself noticed. Noah returned to the violin. Outside, rain blurred the street into gray. Ethan stayed another 20 minutes. Neither of them mentioned why. Mrs. Eleanor Price had lived in apartment 4B for 37 years. She died in early February. Her daughter lived in Arizona and her son in New York. Neither could come to Portland immediately. Noah had known Mrs. Price well enough that her daughter called him and asked whether he could make sure nothing important disappeared before the estate company arrived. So on a cold Sunday afternoon, Noah found himself sitting cross-legged on the floor of 4B surrounded by cardboard boxes. There were books everywhere. Cookbooks, mysteries, gardening manuals, old magazines stacked under the windows. Noah was deciding whether a cracked ceramic bowl belonged in the keep pile when the door opened. Ethan stepped inside carrying a clipboard. They stared at each other. "What are you doing here?" Noah asked. "Structural inspection." "On Sunday?" "The estate company comes tomorrow." Noah lifted the bowl. "I got here first." "I can come back." "No." The word came too quickly. Noah cleared his throat. "I mean, you're already here." Ethan looked around. "Do you need help?" "No." Ethan nodded. Then he began inspecting the wall near the kitchen. 10 minutes passed. Noah watched him measure a crack above the window. "You're really going to pretend I'm not surrounded by 8,000 books? You said you didn't need help." "I was being polite." "I assumed you meant it." "That was your first mistake." Ethan set down the clipboard. "What goes where?" They worked for 4 hours. Noah sorted sentimental items from things that could be donated. Ethan made lists. Of course he did. "You made categories," Noah said. "That is generally how sorting works. You have subcategories. They're useful. You have a separate box labeled Documents Requiring Family Review." "Yes." Noah held up an envelope. "What if it's a love letter?" "Family review." "What if it's scandalous?" "Definitely family review." Noah grinned. By 6, they had cleared enough floor to sit. Ethan ordered Thai food. They ate pad see ew from cardboard containers with their backs against the wall. The apartment felt strange without Mrs. Price. Not empty. Still full of her. Her curtains. Her teacups. The dent in the carpet where her chair had sat. Noah looked around. "You spend your life fixing old buildings." "Yes." "Does it ever bother you?" "What?" "That people leave." Ethan rested his forearms on his knees. "Buildings outlast most people." "That sounds depressing." "I don't think it is." "No?" "No, people leave things behind." Noah looked at the boxes. "Sometimes too much." "Sometimes." A comfortable silence settled. Noah realized that neither of them seemed in a hurry to break it. Outside, the rain had stopped. The windows reflected the room back at them. 2 men sitting on the floor of a dead woman's apartment eating noodles from paper boxes. It should have felt awkward. It did not. That unsettled Noah more than awkwardness would have. The fever arrived on a Wednesday. Noah ignored it. By Thursday morning, his throat hurt. By Thursday afternoon, Howard told him he looked terrible. By Thursday evening, Noah was still at work because there were 3 instruments promised for Friday. He rode the bus home with his head against the window. At the building, he stepped into the elevator. The doors were almost closed when a hand stopped them. Ethan entered. He took one look at Noah. "You're sick." "I'm devastatingly handsome, actually." "You look like you're about to fall over." "That too." Ethan pressed Noah's floor. "I'm fine." "You say that about everything." Noah turned his head. The sentence hit somewhere it should not have. Because I usually am. I didn't say you weren't. It sounded like it. Ethan studied him. Then, instead of continuing, he simply said, "Get some sleep." The doors opened. Noah stepped out. Excellent medical advice. Free of charge. Noah went inside his apartment. He slept for almost 3 hours. When he woke, it was dark. His phone showed one message from Ethan. "Eat something." Noah frowned. Then he noticed something outside his door. A paper bag. Inside was soup from the deli 2 blocks away, crackers, oranges, and a bottle of ibuprofen. No note. No expectation. No knock. No insistence on coming inside. Noah stood in the hallway holding the bag. He disliked favors. Favors created balances. Balances created obligations. Obligations created disappointment. The next afternoon, when his fever had broken, he washed the soup container, even though it was disposable, and carried it downstairs. Ethan was in the lobby. Noah handed him the container. "I owe you." Ethan looked at the empty plastic bowl. "No, you don't. I don't like owing people." "Then don't call it a debt." "What should I call it?" "Soup." Noah almost smiled. Ethan took the container. "You look better. I told you, devastatingly handsome. Clearly the fever affected your judgment." Noah laughed. And just like that, the discomfort loosened. That night he thought about the paper bag outside his door. What stayed with him was not that Ethan had brought food. It was that Ethan had left. He had helped without forcing Noah to receive him. For someone else, that might have meant nothing. For Noah, it meant enough that he remembered it long after the fever disappeared. Emily called on a Monday afternoon. Noah was replacing a cracked tuning machine on a 12-string guitar. His phone vibrated beside his elbow. He almost let it ring. Then he saw his sister's name. "Hey. Are you busy?" "I'm always busy." "That wasn't my question." "You sound like Mom." A small silence. Noah wished he had not said it. Emily recovered first. "I talked to the realtor." His hand stopped. "What realtor?" "For the house." Noah stared at the guitar. "Oh. We talked about this." "Did we?" "At Christmas. You talked. I drank wine." Emily sighed. "Noah." "What?" "We can't keep paying taxes on an empty house." "I know." "And neither of us is going back there." "I know." "The market is good right now." "I know." She was quiet. "You're making this difficult." "I've agreed with everything you said." "That's what makes it difficult." Noah leaned back. "What do you want me to say?" "I don't know." "Then we're in trouble." Emily breathed out. "The realtor thinks we should list next month." "Okay." "Okay?" "Sure." "Noah." "It's a house." It was not. They both knew that. But Emily did not challenge him. "Fine," she said softly. "I'll email you the paperwork." "Okay." They hung up. Noah returned to the guitar. His hand shook. He placed the screwdriver down. Howard called from the back room, asking whether he wanted lunch. Noah said no. He worked another 5 hours. He made jokes with customers. He tuned a cello. He fixed a cracked bridge. He went home. At 9:30, he sat on his kitchen floor eating cereal because the chair felt too formal somehow. The apartment was quiet. He opened his phone. Marcy. Howard. Emily. A college friend he had not spoken to in 6 months. Mrs. Alvarez. Ethan. His thumb stopped. He stared at the name. This was ridiculous. They were not that kind of friends. He was not even sure what kind of friends they were. He locked the phone. 30 seconds later, he unlocked it. "Are you awake?" He expected regret immediately. Instead, the reply arrived. "Yes." Then, "Everything okay?" Noah typed. "Not really." He deleted it. Typed again. "Can you come downstairs?" Ethan answered. "Give me 5 minutes." Noah went to the fire escape. It was cold. He sat on the metal step with his arms around his knees. The door opened behind him. Ethan came through wearing a sweater and no coat. "You're going to freeze. I was hoping you'd bring sympathy. I brought a jacket." He handed it over. Noah took it without arguing. Another small thing he would think about later. They sat. For a while, neither spoke. Then Noah said, "They're selling the house." Ethan waited. "My mother's house." Another pause. "Do you want to talk about it?" "No." "Okay." That was all. Noah looked at him. "You're very bad at interrogation." "I wasn't interrogating you." "You're supposed to ask what happened." "You said you didn't want to talk." Noah stared through the metal railing at the wet alley below. "My mother kept this ugly green kettle for 23 years. Ethan said nothing. It screamed when the water boiled, not whistled, screamed. A small smile touched Ethan's face. She refused to replace it because she said it still worked. Noah swallowed. "When she died, Emily wanted to throw it away. I got angry." "Did you keep it?" "No." "Why?" "I don't know." His throat tightened. He hated that. It was ugly. Ethan looked toward the alley. Sometimes ugly things matter. Noah laughed once. It came out broken around the edges. They stayed there for nearly an hour. Noah never told the whole story. Ethan never asked for it. When they finally stood, Noah handed back the jacket. Ethan did not take it. "Keep it until tomorrow." "I'm not cold." "You're shivering." "That's personality." "Good night, Noah." Noah carried the jacket upstairs. He hung it over the back of his kitchen chair. For the first time since Emily's call, the apartment felt less quiet. The first time Noah accidentally bought 2 coffees, he told himself it was habit. The second time, he stopped lying. He stood outside the cafe staring at the extra cup in his hand. Ethan was not scheduled to be at the building that morning. Noah knew that. He also knew Ethan took meetings downtown on Tuesdays. He knew Ethan disliked sweet coffee. He knew Ethan often forgot lunch when he was working. He knew Ethan rubbed the side of his thumb when thinking. He knew Ethan had a sister in Seattle. He knew Ethan did not play guitar, even though his father had tried to teach him. Noah had collected these details without meaning to. They had begun attaching themselves to ordinary things. Old brick buildings reminded him of Ethan. Black coffee reminded him of Ethan. A certain brand of blue mechanical pencil reminded him of Ethan. One afternoon, a customer came in, wearing a dark wool coat almost identical to Ethan's, and Noah's first thought was that Ethan wore it better. That was the moment Noah admitted he had a problem. Not a dramatic problem. No thunder. No revelation in the rain. Just the quiet recognition that another man had become too present inside his thoughts. A week later, Noah learned about Claire. It happened accidentally. Ethan had left a folder in the lobby. Noah picked it up and went looking for him. He found Ethan near the construction office talking to a woman with dark hair and a long camel-colored coat. She was beautiful. Not magazine beautiful. Real beautiful. The kind that made Noah immediately aware that he had paint on one sleeve. She laughed at something Ethan said and touched his arm. Ethan smiled in a way Noah had never seen. Familiar. Old. Noah stopped before they noticed him. One of the contractors walked past. Caldwell's ex. Noah looked at him. What? Claire, they were engaged forever. The contractor kept walking. Noah stood there holding the folder. Something inside him became very still. Of course. Of course Ethan had been engaged to a woman. Why had Noah never considered it? Because he had not let himself consider Ethan in that way until it was already too late. He left the folder with the receptionist. That evening, Ethan texted, "You left my folder downstairs?" "Found it in the lobby." "Thanks." Noah stared at the screen. Then he placed the phone face down. For the next week, he became very busy. Too busy for coffee. Too busy to stop in the lobby. Too busy to answer messages that were not strictly necessary. He told himself he was correcting a mistake before it became embarrassing. Ethan had been kind. That was all. Kindness was not invitation. Attention was not desire. Comfort was not love. Noah knew better than to turn someone else's decency into a fantasy. So he stepped back. It should have made everything easier. Instead, the building seemed strangely empty. Ethan noticed Noah's absence on the fourth day. He noticed it first because no one corrected the delivery crew when they stacked boxes too close to Mrs. Alvarez's door. Then because the lobby coffee cart ran out of sugar and no one complained loudly enough for 3 people. Then because his phone remained silent. Noah still replied when Ethan messaged about the renovation. But the replies had changed. Water inspection Friday. Got it. No extra sentence. No sarcasm. No unnecessary question. Ethan found himself scrolling upward through old messages. That annoyed him. He was 36 years old. He did not need to analyze punctuation. On Saturday, he drove to Hawthorne Music and Repair. It was 20 minutes out of his way. He told himself he wanted to check on the guitar. Noah looked up when the bell rang. Surprise crossed his face. Then something more guarded replaced it. You're early. For what? The guitar. I know. It's not done. I was nearby. Noah glanced through the front window. Were you? Ethan removed his coat. I had a meeting. Where? Ethan opened his mouth. Closed it. Noah laughed despite himself. The sound loosened something in Ethan's chest. You're terrible at lying, Noah said. So I've been told. You could have texted. I could have. Noah waited. Ethan did not know what else to say. The real answer was absurdly simple. I wanted to see you. But that did not feel like something he could say without explaining why. And he did not know why. So he walked toward the repair counter. How is it? The guitar? Yes. Better. Noah lifted it from a padded stand. The body had been cleaned. The bridge repaired. New tuning pegs waited beside it. Ethan watched Noah handle the instrument. Careful. Certain. At home, Noah could be restless, always leaning against something, talking with his hands. Here, every movement had purpose. Ethan liked watching him work. The realization came without context. He pushed it aside. Noah said, "You can pick it up next week." Okay. Neither moved. Finally, Ethan said, "Did I do something?" Noah's eyes flicked toward him. What? You've been avoiding me. I've been working. You were working before. Noah looked down at the guitar. Maybe I'm getting more responsible. I doubt it. A smile threatened. Noah suppressed it. Ethan felt unreasonably relieved. I'll see you next week, he said. Sure. Outside, Ethan stood beside his car for a moment. He had not solved anything. He did not know why Noah had pulled away. He did not know why that mattered. But it did. That was the uncomfortable part. The notice arrived in March. Howard taped it to the office wall. The property owner would not renew the lease. The building was being sold. Hawthorne Music and Repair had 6 months. Marcy from the flower shop next door cried when she heard. Howard did not. He sat behind the counter staring at the letter. Noah read it twice. Then he folded it neatly. "Well," he said, "that sucks." Howard looked at him. "Understatement. We'll figure something out." Howard gave a tired laugh. "You always say that." "Because we usually do." But the next few weeks were difficult. Howard was considering retirement. The rent in nearby commercial spaces had increased. A larger chain had opened across town. Customers asked what would happen. Noah kept answering, "We're looking at options." He did not say that there were no good options. One evening, Ethan walked into the shop just before closing. Noah was alone. The lights in the front were off except for one lamp above the repair bench. "You heard," Noah said. Ethan nodded. "How?" "Mrs. Alvarez." "Of course. She thinks it's a conspiracy. She thinks parking meters are a conspiracy." Ethan took off his coat. "What are you going to do?" "Find another job." "That wasn't what I asked." Noah kept polishing a violin. It sounded like it. "What do you want to do?" Noah stopped. "What?" "If you had a choice." "I have choices." "Then what do you want?" Noah laughed. It sounded defensive even to him. "Why are you asking like a guidance counselor?" "Because you keep answering a different question." Noah put down the cloth. "I'll work somewhere else." "Do you want to?" "That's not really the point." "It is the point I'm asking about." Noah looked at him. Ethan stood quietly beside the counter. No pressure. No solution. Just the question. Noah hated questions like that. Wanting things was dangerous because wanting made absence measurable. If you never decided what you wanted, you could call whatever happened acceptable. He looked around the shop. The old walls. The crooked shelves. The workbench Howard had built 20 years ago. "I always thought." He stopped. Ethan waited. Noah exhaled. "I always thought maybe I'd have a place like this." Ethan looked around. "A music store?" "No." Noah rubbed the back of his neck. "Smaller." "How small?" "Really small." He was embarrassed now. That made no sense. "A workshop, repairs mostly, maybe restoration, a front window, enough room for a long bench." "What else?" Noah glanced at him. "You're taking this seriously." "Yes." "Why?" "Why wouldn't I?" The question landed somewhere tender. Noah looked away. "A sink would be nice." Ethan smiled. "Luxury. And decent light. Reasonable. No basement." Agreed. Noah could see it now. That was the problem. A narrow storefront. Morning light. Wood shelves. His tools. His name on the door. He laughed softly. "Stupid." "No." Ethan said it immediately. Not comfortingly. Factually. Noah looked at him. Ethan continued, "If you want to look at spaces, I know buildings." There it was. "Help." Noah's reflex rose immediately. "No thanks." "I've got it." "I'll figure it out." He almost said the words. Instead, he looked at the empty store around them. Then at Ethan. "Okay. The word felt far more intimate than it should have. Ethan nodded. Okay. They began looking at commercial spaces on Saturdays. The first had beautiful brick walls and rent that made Noah laugh. The second smelled like mildew. The third had no windows. The fourth was above a laundromat. No, Ethan said immediately. You haven't even looked. I can hear the dryers through the floor. I could tell customers it's ambiance. You would hate it in 3 weeks. Noah looked at him. You sound very confident. I've known you for 6 months. That does not qualify you. You complain about the refrigerator in your own apartment. It hums aggressively. Ethan smiled. They went for lunch afterward. Hot dogs from a street cart. Noah paid because Ethan had bought coffee. That mattered to him. The following week, they found a narrow storefront on a quiet side street. The floor needed refinishing. The bathroom was terrible, but there was a wide front window. Noah walked into the center of the room and stopped. Sunlight reached almost to the back wall. He could imagine the bench there. Shelves here. Storage along the side. Ethan was explaining the electrical load when Noah pointed toward the window. We could put the workbench there. Silence. Noah heard his own words. We. He corrected himself too quickly. I could. Ethan looked at him. Right. Noah turned away. The room suddenly felt smaller. They continued discussing outlets. But something had shifted. Later, standing on the sidewalk, Ethan asked, Do you like it? Noah looked back through the window. Yeah. It scared him how much. Then we should check the lease. We again. This time Ethan had said it. Neither corrected him. Claire Morgan asked Ethan to dinner in April. They met twice a year. Birthdays, if they remembered. Sometimes Christmas. They had been together for 7 years and engaged for 14 months. There had been no betrayal. No screaming. No dramatic final scene. They had simply sat at their kitchen island one night, surrounded by wedding invitation samples, and realized neither could explain why they were still moving forward, except that stopping would be inconvenient. Claire looked the same. Elegant. Observant. Dangerously good at knowing when Ethan was lying to himself. Halfway through dinner, she put down her fork. Who is it? Ethan looked up. Who is what? The person you keep checking your phone for. I'm not. Claire smiled. You've checked it 6 times. Ethan turned the screen face down. That proves nothing. It proves you're behaving like a teenager. He sighed. There's no one. That was convincing. There genuinely isn't. Okay. She drank her wine. Ethan disliked the amusement in her eyes. His phone vibrated. He did not touch it. Claire lifted one eyebrow. He waited 30 seconds. Then checked. A message from Noah. Landlord sent revised lease. He removed the insane HVAC clause. Ethan smiled before he could stop himself. Claire saw. Oh. What? Nothing. Claire. She leaned back. Is there someone? No. The answer sounded weaker now. She did not push. They finished dinner. Ethan drove home alone. At a red light, he opened Noah's message again. Noah had sent a photo of the revised clause with 3 question marks and a doodle of a skull beside the maintenance section. Ethan laughed. Then he stopped. The car behind him honked. The light had changed. Later, lying awake, he thought about Claire's question. Is there someone? He had been interpreting it too narrowly. Someone romantic. Someone he was dating. Someone he was sleeping with. but that was not exactly what she had asked. Was there someone whose messages he wanted? Someone he looked for when entering a room? Someone he wanted to tell things to? Someone whose absence changed the shape of his day? Ethan stared at the ceiling. Noah's face appeared in his mind immediately. That seemed like information worth examining. Once Ethan began paying attention to his own attention, the evidence became irritatingly obvious. He knew Noah hated artificial vanilla flavoring. He knew Noah ate the crusts of sandwiches first. He knew Noah became quieter, not louder, when genuinely upset. He knew Noah wore reading glasses when working on small mechanisms, but disliked anyone mentioning them. He knew Noah called his sister every Sunday evening and usually looked tired afterward. He knew Noah liked old soul records. He knew Noah could not keep plants alive. He knew Noah slept badly before important appointments. None of this had seemed important when he learned it. Now it seemed like a collection of facts he had been building without permission. He also noticed physical things. That was harder to ignore. The shape of Noah's hands. The faint scar near his jaw. The way his hair curled at the ends when wet. The way he pushed his sleeves up when concentrating. Ethan did not panic. He had never been someone who panicked efficiently. He considered possibilities. He considered attraction. He considered loneliness. He considered whether he had mistaken emotional dependence for romance. Then Noah called him late one evening because the new landlord had changed part of the proposed lease. Ethan answered. Noah said, "Sorry, were you asleep?" "No." "Liar." "I was reading." "Horizontal reading." "That is still reading." Noah laughed. They discussed the lease for 10 minutes. Then 20. Then the lease was no longer part of the conversation. Noah told him about a customer who had brought in a guitar held together with duct tape. Ethan told him an engineer had accidentally sent an email about load-bearing shame instead of load-bearing frame. Noah laughed so hard he had to put the phone down. Nothing happened. That was the important part. Nothing happened. No crisis. No need. No practical reason. And Ethan still did not want to end the call. When they finally hung up, the apartment was silent. Ethan looked at his phone. Claire's question returned. "Is there someone?" For the first time, Ethan answered privately. Yes. He just did not yet know what that meant. Emily arrived in Portland in May. She was 3 years older than Noah and looked enough like him that Ethan recognized her immediately in the restaurant. Same eyes. Different way of holding them. Emily's gaze measured the room. Noah's usually searched for exits. Dinner began easily. Emily was funny. Sharper than Noah. She told stories from childhood that made Noah protest loudly. Ethan liked her. He also saw how Noah changed around her. Subtly. His shoulders tightened. His jokes became faster. Whenever conversation approached anything serious, he redirected it. They talked about the house. Emily said the inspection was complete. Closing would probably happen in 6 weeks. Noah nodded. Great. Emily watched him. You don't have to sound excited. I'm not. You sound excited. I'm a naturally enthusiastic person. You once fell asleep at your own birthday dinner. I was 19. You were 27. Ethan smiled. Later, while Noah was away from the table taking a phone call, Emily looked at Ethan. I'm glad he has people here. He has a lot of people. I know. She traced the rim of her glass. Noah's always been easy. Ethan looked at her. What do you mean? He never needed much. She smiled faintly. Even when we were kids, I was the difficult one. He was easy. Noah returned before Ethan could answer. He sat down. What did I miss? Emily insulting your childhood personality. Accurate. He laughed. But Ethan had already seen something. A phrase. Never needed much. It sounded like praise. It also sounded like a sentence someone might spend a lifetime obeying. After dinner, Emily went back to her hotel. Noah and Ethan walked toward the building. The night was warm. For several blocks, Ethan said nothing. Finally, he asked, "What do you need?" Noah stopped. What? What do you need? For what? In general. Noah laughed. That's a strange question. Is it? Yes. You don't have to answer. Good. They started walking again. Then Noah said, "Why are you asking?" Ethan considered telling him about Emily's comment. He decided against it. Because I realized I don't know. Noah's expression closed. I don't need anything. That's not what I asked. There is no difference. There is. Noah stopped again. Why does everyone suddenly need me to need something? Ethan frowned. I don't. You keep asking. I asked once. You ask without asking. What does that mean? It means you look at me like you're waiting for me to admit something is wrong. I don't think something is wrong with you. That's not how it feels. Ethan became still. Noah's voice dropped. I'm not a project. I know. Do you? Yes. Then stop trying to solve me. The words hit harder than Ethan expected. He did not respond immediately. Noah looked away. Regret flickered across his face. But he did not take it back. I'm going upstairs, he said. Okay. Noah walked toward the building. Ethan remained on the sidewalk. For the first time since they met, the distance between them felt deliberate. Noah avoided Ethan for 11 days. This time, Ethan did not follow. No unnecessary messages. No visits to the shop. No invented questions about the renovation. He sent one text. I'm here when you want me to be. Noah read it at 12:43 in the morning. Then again at 1:10. Again the next afternoon. He did not respond. He hated that the message made him feel worse. It would have been easier if Ethan had pushed. Then Noah could be angry. Instead, Ethan simply waited. That was more dangerous. Because patience created space. Space left room for Noah to hear himself. He had accused Ethan of treating him like a project. That was not entirely fair. Ethan had never offered to save him. Never given money. Never spoken over him. Never even entered his apartment without being invited. The truth was worse. Ethan had started asking questions Noah did not know how to answer. What do you want? What do you need? Questions Noah had spent years avoiding. When he was a child, his mother worked double shifts at a care facility. Emily had needed braces. Their father had disappeared for 6 months. The washing machine broke. The electricity nearly got shut off. Noah learned quickly that the easiest way to help was to be easy. He ate whatever was available. He did not ask for new shoes until the old ones split. He said school was fine. He said he did not mind. Later, when his mother died, everyone praised him for handling things so well. Noah had accepted the praise. It was easier than admitting he did not know what else to do. Ethan had looked at that entire system and asked one question. What do you need? Noah had reacted like someone touched an exposed nerve. On the 12th day, he finished Ethan's guitar. He sent a message. Your guitar is ready. Ethan replied, I can come Saturday. No heart. No joke. No extra sentence. Noah stared at the reply. He had wanted distance. Now it hurt. Ethan came Saturday at 3. Noah had cleaned the guitar twice. There was no reason. The instrument looked beautiful. Not new. Noah never tried to make old things look new. The scratches remained. The worn edge near the sound hole remained. He repaired damage. He did not erase history. Ethan entered the shop. Noah suddenly did not know what to do with his hands. Hey. Hi. The distance between them was polite. Noah hated that too. He opened the case. Ethan stared. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he touched the guitar lightly. It looks like his. Noah understood immediately. Not better. Not new. His. That was the idea. Ethan nodded. How much? Noah told him. Ethan paid without arguing. He closed the case. Then he did not leave. Noah. Noah looked up. I'm sorry, Ethan said. Noah's stomach tightened. For what? For making you feel observed instead of understood. The wording was so Ethan that Noah almost smiled. You don't have to apologize. I know. Noah looked at the counter. I was unfair. A little. Thanks. You're welcome. A faint smile passed between them. Then Ethan said, Can I tell you something? Noah leaned back. Sure. Ethan sat on the stool beside the counter. I almost married someone because it was the correct thing to do. Noah went still. Claire? Yes. Ethan looked toward the front window. We were good together. That sounds terrible. Ethan laughed. It wasn't. Then why didn't you marry her? Because one night we realized we were planning a wedding neither of us particularly wanted. Noah listened. We had chosen a house, Ethan continued, talked about children, schools, commutes. We had spreadsheets. Of course you did. We had excellent spreadsheets. Noah smiled. Ethan's expression softened. The problem was that I had become very good at choosing what made sense. And bad at what? Knowing what I wanted. Noah looked at him. Ethan continued quietly. I thought wanting something was less important than choosing correctly. And now? Ethan met his eyes. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. Something moved through Noah's chest. Not romance exactly. Something more fundamental. For months he had placed Ethan slightly above him without admitting it. Ethan was educated. Stable. Controlled. The kind of man who had answers. Noah was the one with the messy family and unstable job and second-hand furniture. Now Ethan was sitting on a stool in a dusty music shop, admitting that he had almost built an entire life because he did not know how to ask himself what he wanted. It changed the balance. Not because Ethan became smaller. Because he became human. Noah said quietly, I'm sorry too. Ethan nodded. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Noah pointed at the guitar. You should learn to play. I'm 36. That is not medically too old. I have no talent. You have hands. That seems like a low bar. It's where we start. Ethan smiled. The old ease returned. Not entirely. But enough. Summer came slowly. The renovation entered its final phase. Noah signed the lease on the small storefront with the wide window. Howard agreed to sell him several tools cheaply. Marcy promised to put flowers in the window on opening day. Ethan helped review the plans. Only when asked. He was careful now. Sometimes too careful. Noah noticed. One evening in July, they sat on the floor of the new workshop eating pizza. There was no furniture yet. Only Noah's workbench near the front window and several unopened boxes. The walls smelled like fresh paint. Ethan leaned against one. You need shelving. I'm aware. You have no storage. I'm also aware. You bought 6 lamps. They were on sale. You have nowhere to put them. That is future Noah's problem. Ethan shook his head. Noah smiled. They had regained their rhythm. Something else had changed beneath it. Noah knew his own feelings now. He also knew Ethan was no longer simply unaware. There were moments. Lingering looks. Silences with weight. Ethan standing slightly too close. Noah had stopped assuming they meant nothing. He had not begun assuming they meant everything. That felt safer. The sun went down outside the large front window. Ethan's phone buzzed. He ignored it. Noah took another slice of pizza. Long day? Yes. What happened? Nothing. Noah laughed. Very dramatic. Ethan looked at him. No, that's actually the problem. What is? Ethan was quiet long enough that Noah put down the pizza. When something happens, Ethan said, you're the first person I want to tell. Noah's body became very still. Ethan continued. If a client does something ridiculous, I think about telling you. Noah did not speak. If I see a terrible storefront, I think about what you would say. A small smile. If I get good news, I reach for my phone. Noah's heartbeat had become loud enough to feel embarrassing. Ethan looked down at his hands. And when nothing happens, he stopped. Noah waited. Ethan looked up. I still want to tell you. The workshop seemed suddenly too quiet. Cars moved beyond the window. Someone laughed on the sidewalk. Noah swallowed. What are you saying? Ethan breathed out slowly. I'm trying to say it correctly. Dangerous. Yes. Noah attempted a smile. It failed. Ethan continued. I don't know what this makes me. Noah looked away. There it was. The sentence he had expected. Confusion. Uncertainty. A man who had loved a woman wondering what category Noah had accidentally placed him in. Noah prepared himself. Then Ethan said, but I know what it makes you. Noah looked back. Important. The word struck more deeply than anything dramatic could have. Ethan continued very quietly now. I think about you when you're not there. Noah's throat tightened. I look for you. Noah could not move. I want you in things that have nothing to do with needing help or buildings or guitars. Ethan's expression was steady. I want you in ordinary days. Noah laughed once, because otherwise he might have done something worse. That sounds inconvenient. It is becoming extremely inconvenient. Noah looked at the floor. Ethan. I'm in love with you. There it was. Simple. No music. No rain. No emergency. No one else in the room. Just a sentence sitting between 2 open pizza boxes. Noah covered his face briefly with one hand. Ethan waited. Of course he waited. What? Ethan asked finally. Noah dropped his hand. I don't know. That's fair. No, it isn't. It can be. Noah looked at him. You were engaged to a woman. Yes. You've only ever dated women. Yes. And now you're sitting on my floor saying, yes. Stop saying yes. Ethan almost smiled. Noah's chest hurt. Not badly. Just too full. He asked the question that had been waiting underneath all the others. What happens when this gets inconvenient? Ethan's expression changed. Understanding. Noah hated that he understood. When people ask questions, Noah continued, when your family knows, when your coworkers know, when you wake up one day and realize you've rearranged your life around something you never planned, Ethan listened. Noah's voice lowered. What happens then? Ethan did not say it would be easy. He did not say no one would care. He did not promise love would remove consequences. He simply said, "Then it'll be inconvenient." Noah stared at him. Ethan continued, "But I won't disappear because it is." Something in Noah gave way. Not completely. Walls built over decades rarely collapsed because of one sentence. But a door opened. Just enough. Noah leaned forward. Ethan did not move until Noah touched his face. Then Ethan's hand came carefully to Noah's wrist. Their first kiss was soft, almost uncertain. Noah had expected something larger. Fireworks. Shock. Instead, it felt strangely familiar, as if the months before had already built the shape of it. When they separated, Ethan stayed close. Noah breathed out. "This is still terrifying." "I know." "You sound calm." "I am not." Noah smiled. "Good." They kissed again. Outside, the streetlights came on. Inside the workshop, nothing changed. The boxes remained unopened. The walls still needed shelves. Tomorrow, Noah would have to call the city about a permit. Ethan had work. The world had not transformed. That was what made the moment feel real. Dating Ethan was both easier and harder than Noah expected. Easier because very little changed. They already talked every day. Already ate together. Already knew each other's schedules. Already understood each other's bad habits. Harder because now there were new expectations Noah did not know how to navigate. He disliked telling Ethan when something went wrong. Ethan noticed. 3 weeks after they started dating, Noah learned the workshop permit required an additional inspection. It would delay opening. He did not mention it. Ethan found out because Noah left the city email open on his laptop. "Why didn't you tell me?" Noah looked up from a box of strings. "I was going to." "When?" "When I had it handled." Ethan leaned against the bench. "Why?" "What do you mean? Why do I only get to hear about problems after you solve them?" Noah bristled. "Because they're my problems." "I know." "Then?" Ethan stopped. The old pattern. Problem. Solution. Question. Pressure. He caught himself. "Do you want help?" "No." "Do you want advice?" "No." Ethan nodded. "Do you want me to listen while you complain about the city?" Noah looked at him. "That would be nice." So Ethan sat down. Noah complained for 15 uninterrupted minutes. Ethan did not offer a single solution. At the end, Noah said, "That was weirdly satisfying. I hated every second." "You're growing." "So are you." Noah threw a pencil at him. A month later, they had their first real argument. Noah told Ethan he was worried about cash flow. The next morning, Ethan arrived with a spreadsheet. A very good spreadsheet. Noah stared at it. "What is this?" "Projection model." "I know what a spreadsheet is." "You said you were worried." "I was talking. I thought you wanted to solve it." "No." Ethan frowned. "Then why tell me?" The question escaped before he could stop it. Noah became quiet. Then he said, "Because I wanted to tell you." Ethan looked at him. Noah continued, "I'm trying to tell you things before I fix them." Understanding arrived. Slowly. Ethan closed the laptop. "Right." Noah crossed his arms. "You don't have to repair every broken thing." Ethan looked around the workshop. "That seems philosophically opposed to your profession." "I repair guitars. And mandolins. and occasionally violins. Noted. Noah tried not to smile. Ethan stepped closer. Do you want me to listen? Yes. Okay. That became their new language. Do you want help? Do you want advice? Do you want company? Sometimes Noah still answered. I'm fine. Ethan learned not to challenge immediately. Sometimes Ethan still offered a solution too quickly. Noah learned to say, I need you, not a plan. Neither became a different person. They simply became easier for each other to understand. That was slower than falling in love. And Noah discovered much more difficult. The house sold in September. Emily called on Wednesday. The buyers want to close Monday. Noah sat behind his workshop counter. Okay. There was a pause. Do you want to go before then? His first instinct rose immediately. No. Nothing there. It's fine. Instead, he looked toward the front window. Rain moved lightly across the glass. Ethan had asked him many times what he wanted. Noah was beginning to understand that wanting did not become weakness just because someone else could hear it. Yes, he said. Emily was quiet. Okay. I want to go. Then go. Ethan drove. The house was 2 hours away in the small town where Noah and Emily had grown up. Noah talked for the first 40 minutes. Then stopped. Ethan did not fill the silence. When they arrived, the house looked smaller than Noah remembered. That felt like betrayal. The porch paint had peeled. A shrub his mother had planted near the front steps had grown wild. Noah stood beside the car. Ethan took the keys from the cup holder and handed them to him. You coming in? Do you want me to? Noah looked at the house. No. Okay. No disappointment. No question. Ethan sat on the porch steps. Noah unlocked the door. Inside, the air smelled closed. Dust. Old wood. Something faintly sweet from the kitchen cabinets. Most furniture was gone. The living room echoed. Noah walked slowly. There had been a sofa there. His mother's chair there. A Christmas tree in that corner. He entered the kitchen. The stove was empty. No green kettle. He had not expected it. Still, he looked. Upstairs, he found pencil marks inside the hallway closet. Emily, age 9. Noah, age 6. Emily, age 12. Noah, age 10. His mother's handwriting beside each line. He touched the last one with his thumb. For years, Noah had treated memory like a room that might collapse if he disturbed anything. Now the room was already empty, and somehow he was still standing. In his mother's bedroom, he found a cardboard box Emily had left. Inside, old tools, a chipped coffee mug, photographs, receipts, letters. Noah sat on the floor. He did not take everything. That surprised him. He chose his mother's small toolbox. The chipped mug, 3 photographs, a bundle of letters tied with kitchen string. Nothing else. When he carried the box outside, Ethan was still on the porch, exactly where Noah had left him. The sight hurt. In a good way. A dangerous way. Noah set the box down and sat beside him. Ethan did not ask if he was okay. Thank God. They looked toward the street. A lawn sprinkler clicked somewhere nearby. A dog barked. Normal life continuing. After several minutes, Noah said, "Stay for a minute." Ethan's hand moved, palm up between them. Noah placed his hand in it. They sat. That was all. After a while, Ethan asked, "Ready?" Noah looked at the house one last time. He expected something dramatic. A final wave of grief. a revelation. Instead, he felt tired, sad, grateful, and ready to leave. Yeah, they stood. Noah picked up the box. At the car, Ethan opened the trunk. Noah stopped. "Let's go home." Ethan looked at him, only for a second. Then he smiled. "Okay." On the drive back to Portland, Noah fell asleep. When he woke, they were 20 minutes from the city. Ethan's hand rested on the gearshift. Noah covered it with his own. Neither spoke. Portland lights appeared ahead through the rain. The workshop never became famous. Noah considered that a success. He had enough customers, enough restoration work, enough money to pay rent without checking his bank account every morning. Howard came in twice a week, despite being officially retired. Marcy put flowers in the front window every Monday. Mrs. Alvarez insisted on telling every person in the building that she had personally convinced Noah to open the place. Ethan did not move in immediately. That surprised everyone except Noah. They spent nights at each other's apartments. Gradually, Ethan's coffee appeared in Noah's kitchen. Noah's sweaters appeared in Ethan's bedroom. A toothbrush, books, tools. Then one day, neither could remember which apartment a particular frying pan originally belonged to. Noah thought that was a better milestone than a moving truck. The old guitar hung on the wall of the workshop. One Friday evening, Ethan took it down. Noah looked up. "Dangerous." "I've been practicing." "No, you haven't. I watched a video." "That's worse." Ethan sat on a stool. He played 3 chords. The first was acceptable. The second was terrible. The third produced a sound so wrong Noah burst out laughing. Ethan stopped. "You said it could be saved." "The guitar." Important distinction. Noah took the instrument and adjusted Ethan's fingers. "Here." Ethan tried again. "Better." "See? I'm gifted." "Absolutely not." Ethan smiled. The same quiet smile Noah had first noticed in the lobby nearly 2 years ago. Only now Noah knew what came before it. The slight softening around his eyes. The almost invisible breath. The way Ethan looked at him, as though he had already decided to stay. At 6:30, Noah turned off the front lights. He locked the register. Ethan was waiting outside. Noah stepped onto the sidewalk and pulled the door shut. "You know you could've gone home." "I know." "You've been sitting there for 20 minutes. "I had email." "You could answer email at home." "I know." Noah locked the door. He looked at Ethan. There had been a time when this kind of waiting would have frightened him, because waiting implied expectation. Expectation implied obligation. Now it simply meant someone had chosen to remain where Noah could find him. Ethan reached for his hand. Noah let him. They began walking. The evening was cool. Cars moved through wet streets. A bus hissed at the corner. Someone inside the restaurant across the road dropped a tray and half the room cheered. Nothing extraordinary happened. Noah no longer needed extraordinary things. At the intersection, Ethan asked, "What do you want for dinner?" Noah considered saying he did not care. The answer rose automatically. "Anything. Whatever you want." It did not matter. He stopped himself. There were small ways to change a life. Sometimes they were no larger than answering a question honestly. "Thai." Ethan nodded. "The place near Hawthorne?" "Yeah." They crossed when the light changed. Noah glanced back once at the workshop. His name was painted in small white letters across the window. Bennett Instrument Repair and Restoration. Behind the glass sat the long workbench he had imagined before the place existed. The lamps. The shelves, the tools, the wide window, everything he had once been embarrassed to say he wanted. Then he looked forward. Ethan was beside him, still holding his hand. Noah squeezed once. Ethan looked over. What? Nothing. A year ago, Noah might have stopped there. Now he added, "I'm glad you waited." Ethan's expression softened. "So am I." They kept walking. Toward dinner. Toward home. Toward another ordinary evening neither of them would have known to ask for 2 years earlier. And because it was ordinary, because there were dishes waiting in the sink, and emails unanswered, and laundry they had both forgotten to move into the dryer, because tomorrow Noah would open the workshop at 9, and Ethan would complain that he had a 7:30 meeting, because neither of them had been rescued from being human. It felt to Noah like the most dependable kind of happiness he had ever known. Not a miracle. Not a promise that nothing would change. Only a life with enough room for 2 people to keep choosing it. And finally, enough room for Noah to admit that he wanted to be chosen too.